Okay, welcome everyone. As we start our Motzei Shabbos marathon, and it's a very special time to learn Torah, because as people get extremely busy for Pesach, there's less learning in the world, and we know that the world exists on Torah. It says, Al tikre bonayich ela bonoyich, the builders of the world. We are the builders of the world, and we are starting at the new Mishnah on Daf Mem Gimel Amud Beis, sponsored by A.B. Spry and family, for all nachas from all his wonderful family, and by Michal Avram. Everyone should finish Shas with Gesund. We are holding by the new Mishnah on Daf Mem Gimel Amud Beis, coming to the close of yet another accomplishment, the finishing of Perek HaMafkid. So, Hachoyshev l'shloyach yad b'pikadon. Mark has trouble written all over his face. So, Yitzi left Mark a deposit, and Mark intended, he verbalized that he's going to misappropriate it, but he didn't do so yet. Beis Shammai says that if anything happens after he had these diabolical thoughts and just articulated them, he's already chayiv. He's not chayiv until he actually misappropriates. Shenemar, because it says that he swears that he didn't stretch out his hand. So we see that he has to misappropriate it in order to be chayiv. Just articulating it is not enough. And we welcome in Richard Rosenzweig, and Richard Rosenzweig accurately asks that we should learn Iran is actively shooting missiles, at long-range missiles, at Eretz Yisrael as we speak, and that there should be safety for Eretz Yisrael. None of those missiles should contain chas v'shalom anything in them that could, poison the populace or anything like that. So there's a lot to daven for, and there should be safety for Achenu Beis Yisrael b'kol makom shehein. Here now, remember Yitzi gave Mark a barrel of wine. If Mark tilted the barrel, v'notal mimena revius, and he took a swig of 2.9 fluid ounces of wine, v'nishbara, and it broke, eina mishalem elu revius. He only pays for the revius, because he only pays, since he didn't acquire the barrel, he only tilted it, so he only pays for that part that he misappropriated. However, higvia, if he lifted the barrel, lifting the barrel makes him acquire the barrel, v'notale mena revius, and he takes him a revius, and then it breaks, even an oinus, v'nishbara mishalem to make kula, because when he picked it up, he acquired it. Okay, as we start the top of Mem Daled Amud Aleph, it is a Pesach theme, Dam. Dam is, of course, Erelach Mispaiseses, B'damayich, V'amalach B'damayich Chayi, B'damayich Chayi, with your blood you will live, your blood you will live. This is another blood, the blood of Daf Mem Daled. Through it we certainly will live. So Menani Mili, the Gemara says, how does Beis Shammai know? Beis Shammai holds that he becomes liable even if he just articulates to take the barrel. For any matter of trespass. Now, dvar is dibur. Now, when it says thought, it doesn't mean thought, because thought, we don't know what his thought is. But it means the revelation of his thought by mere articulation. Well, Beis Hillel says Mark is not chayiv until he actually misappropriates it. Beis Hillel ain't a chayiv at sheyishalach bayad unless he misappropriates it. Shenema im lo yishalach yodoi b'meleches re'eyu. So Beis Shammai poses the question to Beis Hillel, I don't understand. Amal and Beis Shammai leBeis Hillel, what are you going to do? I'll call Devar Pesha. Now, Devar is a word. Amal and Beis Hillel says to Beis Shammai, we can't dash in that because the pasuk says only he's only chayiv if he actually stretches out his hand. What does Beis Hillel do with Al Kol Dvar Pesha, which implies even a mere word, Dvar Dibur being a word? So here he says that it's not only if Mark actually stretches his hand out, but if he tells Nachman to give it to him, then he's also chayiv. As the Gemara says, it's only if he stretches out his hand. If he tells his servant or the shlucha or his agent, minayin, even if he issues the instruction to do so. We said that if Mark tilts the barrel to take out a revius, if he tilted the barrel to take out a revius, he's only chayiv for that revius if the barrel subsequently breaks with an einus, but that's only if it breaks. If the wine turned vinegary, then Mark is chayiv for all the wine. Why? Because it was a pressurized barrel. So by taking out the revius, he took away the pressure and caused the whole thing to become vinegar. My time a girei didehu, it's his arrow, that caused it to sour, that caused it to become vinegar. Because he took out the revius, it lost its pressurized welfare, and therefore he's chayiv for the whole contents. Higvia v'notel himena, if he lifted it up and he took out of it, Amashmul, loy notal mamish. Once he lifts it up, he doesn't have to actually take out the wine. Elakevin shegvia litol, once he lifted it to take it out, and he lifted it there by acquiring the whole barrel, afal pisha loy notal, even if he doesn't take from it, he's already chayiv. Now, we had a machlokes earlier in the parak whether shlichus yad needs a chesaron or not. When you misappropriate it, whether you have to actually take from it. It would seem to be that since Shmuel is saying that you don't have to take from it, even if you just intended to take from it when he lifted it up, lema kasava Shmuel, it would seem to be that Shmuel holds shlichus yad ein tzricha chesaron. So the Gemara says no. Really, it could be that he holds that if you lift it up to take out a revius, and you didn't take out the revius, maybe you're only chayiv for that revius, not for the whole barrel. Because shlichus yad, tzricha chisaron. Now, when you lift it to take out the revius, everybody holds you're chayiv for that revius. The shaila is if you're chayiv for the rest of it. So if you hold shlichus yad and tzricha chisaron, you're not chayiv for the rest of it. But here he is chayiv. Because since he's chayiv for that revius, and he picked up the whole barrel, he's happy that the revius is in the rest of the barrel, because then that revius keeps fresh because of the rest of the barrel. So then he's benefiting from the whole rest of the barrel. Shani hacha, the nichalei the ta'ave hachav yiskula. Basis la revius. He's pleased that the whole barrel should be a base for his revius, because as we said, when it's in the pressurized barrel, it keeps fresh. So now the Gemara clears the shayla. What about like this? By Ravashi, higvia arniki litol hemena dinner mao. What about if Mark had deposited by him by Yitzi a purse? He picks up the purse to take out of it a dinner, and he didn't take it out. Is he going to be chayiv for the whole purse because the purse protects the dinner? Do we say chamru, the wine, the loy minter ala gav chamru? The wine won't stay fresh unless it's in the pressurized barrel. Aval zuzah minter, but the dinner would be protected even if it's outside the purse. Oy dilma, it's safer in the purse. Shani nitirusa da arna came in the tirusa the dinner. It's more protected when it's in the purse, and therefore maybe he's chayiv for the whole purse. Take a tishbi ataretz kushas v'yibayis, and now we ask Hashem 3 times that we should be zeicha to return at least 3 more times to our mafkid. We hope to return to it many more times. But hadnu lach mafkid, hadnu lach mafkid, hadnu lach mafkid. Now, before we start this new perek, let me welcome in everybody as Dr. Block is joining us, Stephen Holtzman, A.B. Spry, Saba is here joining us, and Aaron Swade, and Irving Fishbaum, Shimon Klein, Mel Zachter, Dr. Guy, Mark Frankel, Yitzi Fuchs, Nachman Chapler, Yitzi Muller, Eddie Chazan, Shelley Zeitlin, Mo Kushner, Bruce Eisenberg, who we had the pleasure of singing in Shul today, Menachem Yamansky, Moshe Lehman, Ilya Shutman, Chaim Braun, Shimon Deer, Abe Arbach, a Zoom user, whoever that is. Richard Rosenzweig is joining us on Facebook. I actually got a notification that my Facebook is not, the screen is a little dirty, so I tried to use a lens cleaner to clean the screen. I hope it's more clear. And David Helfgott on Kol Lashon. I will say a special tefillah when we start this perek. Hazav is from the heart of Prakim in Shas, and I ask Hashem for the siyata d'shmaya, especially for a Rav pre-Pesach, and Pesach is a very busy time, so I ask Hashem that I should have the siyata d'shmaya to prepare it correctly and give it over to you clearly. Now, to understand the next Gemara, the next Mishnah, and the ensuing Gemara, it's really simple if you understand the framework. To acquire and make a sale binding, the Rabbanan said a sale is not binding through payment of cash. Rather, the sale is binding when the buyer makes a kinyan on the merchandise. So if, let's say, I'm buying from Shelley a chess set. It's a Staunton chess set, one of a real classic, and I'm buying it from Shelley for $250. When I give him the $250, halachically, we could both renege yet on the deal. The deal is binding when I make a kinyan on the chess set. Now, if the chess set is heavy, so it's the best kinyan is to pick it up. Hagva kind of b'chol makom. If it's a heavy item, it's a heavy chess set, maybe it's a chess table, then you acquire it with the kinyan of Mashiach by pulling it to you. So you see, it's key to know what is the money and what is the merchandise. Because the acquisition is not done with the money. The acquisition is done by pulling the merchandise. So here the Gemara says an interesting thing. What if I buy from Shelley a gold coin with silver? What's the merchandise and what's the money? So the Mishnah will say that silver is more liquid than gold. Therefore, silver is the money and the gold is the commodity, is the merchandise. So therefore, I acquire it when I magvia the gold. What about silver and copper? So there the Gemara says that the silver is more liquid than the copper, and therefore the copper is the merchandise and not the silver. And that's the theme of this Mishnah. So now let's see it inside. Hazov koines hakesef. When I make the Mashiach on the gold, that makes the deal binding, and then Shelley gets the kesef, and neither of us could renege on the deal. But a kesef ain't a koines hazav. Even when I give Shelley the silver, the deal is not binding yet, because the gold is the merchandise, and I have to make the Mashiach on the merchandise. Hanechosh is koines hakesef. When I make the Mashiach on the copper, then Shelley gets the silver, because the copper is the merchandise and the silver is the currency. But vakesef ain't a koines hanechosh. When Shelley gets the silver, that doesn't make the deal binding yet, because silver is the money, and paying the money doesn't seal the deal. The Mashiach has to be made on the merchandise. If, let's say, I'm making a deal and I'm buying from Shelley some poor currency, I'm getting a good deal. You know, I'm buying some poor currency, and I pay for it with good currency. So obviously the good currency is the money. The poor currency is the merchandise. So when I make a kinyan on the merchandise, then Shelley gets the good money. But Vayofis, when I give him the good money, and it kind of says a rice, because the poor money, which is less liquid, is the merchandise. Similarly, if, let's say, I'm buying from Shelley some tokens, that's coins before they were minted. So that's obviously, the token is obviously the merchandise. So asimon koines hamatbeya, the Mashiach made on the token makes that Shelley gets the money, because the token, which is less liquid, is the merchandise. But vamatbeya, Shelley getting the money, and a koines hasimon doesn't make the deal binding on the token, because as we said, paying the money doesn't seal the deal. Metaltalin koines hamatbeya. So again, that's the chess set case. When I make a kinyan on the Staunton chess set, then Shelley gets the money. But matbeya, when I give him the $250, ain't a koines metaltalin. I don't get the chess set yet, because the Mashiach, the kinyan, has to be done on the merchandise. As we welcome in Sandy Grunfeld, and we welcome in for our 28th Zoomer Koyach. You need Koyach when Marshall is in town, so we welcome Marshall in as our 28th Zoomer. It's very hard when you come into this sugya before you get if you didn't get the Hakdama that we gave. That's why it's so important to come on time. But you come whenever you can. And Marshall is going to say that he's a Shomer Shabbos. Okay, Baruch Hashem. It's nice to have a Shomer Shabbos on the share. At
least you got one.
Yeah. There's only one of a kind.
Okay. You're feisty. What was in the talk today?
Now the Gemara explains. So let me just review that very quickly again, so that people who just arrived shouldn't be lost. When it comes to kinyanim, money does not seal the deal. I'm making a Hakdama and he disappears. Marshall, come back.
Sorry, I had the wrong volume.
Okay, now he put on the right head now. Before he came with if you're not watching on YouTube on Zoom, he came with a frog head. Now he has his head on. Okay, so if I buy from Shelley a chess set, giving Shelley money does not seal the deal. The deal is only sealed when I make a kinyan on the merchandise. And then neither of us could back out. So therefore, if it's a light chess set, when I pick up the chess set, if it's heavier, when I do Mashicha on the chess set, if it's a very, very heavy item, then when he hands me over the reins or the leash, etc., that's called Masira. So therefore, Ketzat, Moshe Chemenu Peris, if I'm buying from Shelley fruit, if I pulled the fruit, even though I didn't give him the money, nobody could retract, because by pulling the merchandise, I acquire it. If I gave Shelley the money for the fruit, but I didn't make the Mashiach on the fruit yet, we could both retract. However, if I gave Shelley the money and we made up a deal, there is a curse if Shelley doesn't honor the deal. Although it's not legally binding, he who punished the people of the generation of the flood and the generation of dispersion, who asidli para, he's going to punish somebody that doesn't keep his word. Reb Shimon disagrees with the whole idea of the Mishnah. Reb Shimon Aimer kol kesef biyadai, when Shelley has the money in his hand, he's yadai al yaina, he has the upper hand. Shelley could yet back out if he wants to and not deliver the fruit, but I can't back out anymore once I give Shelley the money. That's the opinion of Reb Shimon, who argues on the Tanakama of the Mishnah. So remember, in the case of the gold and the silver, we had to determine which was the merchandise and which was the money. So in our Mishnah it says that the gold is the merchandise and the silver is the money, simply because silver is more liquid than gold, and therefore the silver is the money and the gold is the merchandise. However, we will see that Rebbe, when he was younger, taught the opposite. As the Gemara tells us, Masnele Rebbe Reb Shimon Berei, Rebbe teaches Reb Shimon, his son, like we have it in our Mishnah, Hazov Koines HaKesef, when I buy gold from Shelley, when I make a kinyan on the Zav, then Shelley acquires the silver, and neither of us could back out because the gold is the merchandise. Says the Gemara, Amalei Rebbe, so Reb Shimon says to his father, Rebbe, Shanisa lanu biyaldusecha, you taught us when you were younger that a kesef kaines hazav, that's the other way around, that silver acquires gold. And that silver is the merchandise, and gold is the money because it's more chashiv. The taz of a tishnol lanu b'ziknusecha, and now you change your mind in your older age and says the azov kaines hakesef, that it's gold that acquires the silver, and that the gold is the merchandise. So the Gemara says, let's understand, what did Rebbe hold in his youth and what did Rebbe hold when he became older? Biyaldusei ma'isava, what did he hold in his youth? Or b'ziknusei ma'isava, what did he hold in his old age? So the Gemara says, Biyaldusei savar, in his youth he held dava dechashiv, gold, which is more prestigious, havetiva, that's the money, and kaspa deloi chashiv, and silver, which is not as chashiv, havepeira. And then, if the silver is the merchandise, then the key is who made the Mashiach or the Hagva on the silver. The Kani like pay relativa, because as we said, the kinyan on the produce always acquires the money and makes the money binding. Biziknusei Savar, in his old age, he said, like we have in the Mishnah, Kaspa de Charf, the silver, which is more liquid, it's more used as money, have a tiva. Dava, the loicha of gold, which is not so liquid, have a payra, is the merchandise. Bikani le payra letiva. And then the kinyan Mashiach made on, or the hagva, if it's only a little, the hagva made on the gold, it makes the money binding. Amar Rav Ashi, so Rav Ashi says it would seem to be 2 lines from the top of Memdal on the base, as we're heading into the terrain, the sometimes rough terrain, but remarkably rewarding terrain of Perek Hazov. Amar Rav Ashi ki yaldusei mistavra. It is reasonable, like what Rebbe said in his youth, Mediktani, because it says Hanechoshes kaines hakesef, the kinyan that's made on the copper requires the money. That we said in the ratio, like Rebbe in his youth, that silver in relation to gold is produce, is the merchandise, because gold is more chashiv, therefore gold is the money and silver is the produce. So that's the Kiddush of the next stanza. That copper in relation to silver, it's the copper that's the merchandise. So it's telling us that silver switches roles. Even though when it is relative to gold, the silver was the merchandise, but when it's relative to copper, it's considered the coinage, it's considered the money. If we say silver in relation to gold is the money because it's more current. Here, silver, even though gold is more prestigious than it, it's the money because it's more current. That silver is both more chashiv and it's also more liquid. It's more superior. It's also more liquid. Surely, what's the chiddush? Of course, the copper is going to be the merchandise. My boy. So the Gemara says, well, the chiddush is in certain places, copper was more liquid than silver, because copper was used by the regular man. It's true. Copper in a place where there's much of it, it's more liquid than silver. So I might think that silver should be the merchandise in relationship to the copper. Since there are places where copper is not liquid at all, so therefore we say that we say that copper is the merchandise, and therefore the Mashiach on the copper makes the deal binding. Now the Gemara says, V'af Reb Chia Savar, Reb Chia also holds like Rebbe Biyalduse, like Rebbe in his youth, that gold is the money in relationship to silver. V'af Reb Chia Savar Dava Tivehave, Reb Chia also holds that gold is the money and the silver is the merchandise. The Rav, this is very interesting. Now here again, I need to give you, and this we're going to learn about extensively in this parak. And again, this parak will stretch our minds. This parak will stretch our minds, which is very healthy for us. Very healthy to stretch our minds and keep it its elasticity. It's a very good thing. There's a din of sa b'sa. The din of sa b'sa is that I cannot give Eddie a sa of wheat as a loan and tell him to return it to me in 6 months, because we're afraid that the price of the sa might go up. And then, when Eddie returns it to me later, he's going to give me more value for waiting for it for 6 months, and that would be ribis. So normally we don't do what's called sabisa. However, there's an interesting loophole. Always looking for loopholes, Eddie is. Eddie's the king of loopholes, right? So why do you think he's always in a car running? Right? Eddie is the king of loopholes. So if when I give Eddie the saw, he has a saw, just it's somewhere we can't get it now. It's in a silo and Eddie lost the key. So until he finds the key, he can't get, but he has a saw. So there we say that I could lend him the saw, because we say that it says, if he said that the saw that he has the silo is my payment. already then. So that if it goes up in value, it went up already in my rishus, since he gave it to me already. So that's a loophole. So, I mean, who loses a key to a silo? So you can understand we're not dealing with a full deck over here. But says the Gemara, V'afra b'chia sava, you should see how Marshall is grinning, you know, it's like he's not getting busted for a reason. Says the Gemara, but anyway, I'm saving you for better stuff. Says the Gemara, V'afra b'chia sava dava tivahave. Reb Chia also holds that gold is coin and not merchandise. Why? Durav oizif dinrei mibrate de Reb Chia. Rav borrowed some dinare, some golden coins, from the daughter of Reb Chia. L'saif, at the end, a yakar dinrei, the price of gold coins went up. Also the Kamei Reb Chia, so he borrowed 6 gold coins. So Rav was worried that if he gives her back 6 gold coins that are now worth more, he's giving her interest. The Sofi Yakar Dinrei, also the Kamei Reb Chia, Amalei, so he told him, don't worry, Zil Shlimla Tovin V'Tekilin. Go and pay my daughter back, good ones and full weighted. Now, if gold is coins we say that you could borrow coins and pay back the coins. And we don't say that even if you could buy more with the money, we don't say that's interest. Because we say that it's not the money that went up in value, the fluctuation is in the merchandise. So, Bishleima Dava Tiva Shaper. But if it's considered like merchandise, so Havale Sabasa, it would be a case of Sabasa. We said that I can't give Eddie a saw and get back a saw. So if he gave the daughter, if he took from the daughter 6 gold coins, how could he give her 6 gold coins that are worth more? Says the Gemara, Rav Dinra Havale. So this is the same loophole. Rav had gold coins. They just weren't accessible to him. The Kavan the Havale Dinare, Nasa Kaimala, it's as if he said to her, Hilveni Achiyavai Bani, lend it to me until my son comes with the key to get my gold coins, or until I find the key. So that means that the gold coins were already in the rishus of the daughter, and when they went up in her rishus. He's not giving her interest. Amarava, so Rava says, Hai Tana Savar Dava Tivahave. The following Tana holds that gold is considered coins. The Tanya, for we learned, Pruta Sha'amru, the Pruta that we say that you Mekadesh and Isha with a Pruta, is Echad Mishmaina B'Israel Talki. It's 1/8 of the Italian Isser, and L'may Nafkamina, the Kedusha Isha, to determine the Pruta of Kedusha by a woman. An Isser is Echad Me'esrim Varba B'Dinner Shel Kesef. An Isser is 1/24 of a dinner of silver, and L'may Nafkamina, that if you're buying it, then if you charge for a dinner of silver more than 24 Iser, you're cheating. Dinner shel kesef, a dinner of kesef is esrim v'chamisha b'dinar shel zav, is 1/25 of a golden dinari. L'may nafkamina l'pidyon haben, because when we pay the 5 shkalim of the pidyon haben, that's the way we're going to calculate it, that there's 25 pieces of silver to 1 piece of gold. So the Gemara says, since we're saying silver in relation to gold, if you'll say that gold is a coin, mishar tane b'midei de kitz, The Tana tells a value with something fixed. Money is fixed. But if it's considered merchandise, which fluctuates, it becomes less, it becomes more. Would the Tana make an evaluation with something that sometimes goes up and sometimes goes down? So then Zimnan the Mahadale Kahana, sometimes the Kohen will have to give change. The Zimnan the Moisevle, and sometimes he would have to add to what he gives to the Kohen. The Zimnan the Moisevle Kahana. El Shmamina Tivave, it must be that gold is considered a coin. Shmamina. That's a good raya that this opinion holds, that gold is considered a coin. Tanan Hassam, we learned in Ma'aser Sheni. Hold on, maybe you'll get me something cold, but it has to be cold. See if there's cold water in the refrigerator. Tanan Hassam. Let's wait. I don't want Michal Avram to miss. You miss a piece of this, you miss the string. No, I don't have a cup here. You put it in a coffee cup.
Okay.
So Mashiach works even on the other person's property?
Yes, sure.
That's
how you make a kinyan.
Right. And then we're figuring out so the money just solidifies.
No, so once you make the kinyan on the item, then the deal is binding. It's not the receiving of the money, it's the kinyan on the merchandise.
So the curse of the Rabbanon is only once we did.
No, the curse of the Rabbanon is, even though it's not legally binding, there's still a curse. It's only legally binding when the kinyan is made on the merchandise. Now, okay, there we go. Thank you very much. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam she'akol nהיה b'dvaro.
Rabbi,
Yes.
what is the word asimon is the unminted coin? What does that have to do with anything?
It is, the unminted coin is the merchandise in relation to the coin. Excuse me. Now, Tanan Hassam. Beis Shammai says, Lo yasa adam slotin din reizav. Beis Shammai says that when going up Ma'aser Sheni, you want to consolidate because you have to go to Yerushalayim. So Beis Shammai says you cannot change your silver coins for a gold coin. You can't say, I'm exchanging 25 silver coins of Ma'aser Sheni for one gold coin. Beis Shammai says you're not allowed to do that. Or Beis Hillel matirin. Beis Hillel says you're allowed to do it. So what's the machlokes? Rabbi Yochanan Reish Lakish Chanam machlokes b'sla and al dinarim. The machlokes is silver on gold. The Beis Shammai says that kaspa tiva, the silver is the coinage, v'dava pera, and gold is considered the fruit. V'tiva apera le'mechalina. The din is that Ma'aser Sheni, you could put your Ma'aser Sheni on money, but you can't put the money back on fruit. And since the gold is considered fruit in relation to the silver, he says that you can't put the money onto fruit, because Ma'aser Sheni money, you have to take up to Yerushalayim, you're not allowed to put it back on fruit. Beis Hillel says no. Kaspa pera, the silver is the fruit, v'dava tiva, and the gold is the money, or pera tiva mechalalinan, and therefore you could put fruit on money. So therefore, since the silver is the fruit, and the gold, which is more chashuv, is the money, you could put the paris on money, because that's what we always do. We put the produce onto money. Aval paris ala dinarim, but fruit, to put it directly on, you have a lot of fruit, and you want to redeem the fruit of Ma'aser Sheni onto a golden coin, divrei akol mechalelina. Well, everybody holds you can be mechalel it. My time, huh? Midei dahavi akesef lebeis hillel. It's the same thing as money by silver by beis hillel. Kesef lebeis hillel afagav de kaspa legabe dava. Even though silver in relation to gold is considered produce, peira havi legabe peira, but the silver in relation to the fruit, tivavi, it's a coin. So zov nami lebeis shammai, gold for Beis Shammai, afal gav de dava legabe kaspa, even though gold in relationship to the silver is produce, peira have legabe peira, but gold in relationship to fruit, tiva have, it's surely coinage, and therefore you could redeem the fruit onto gold. The Chadamar, and one says, Apa peris al dinar machlokes, that even peris onto fruit, one of them holds, Apa peris al dinar, even peris on the golden dinare, also he argues and says you can't be mechal the fruit onto the golden dinare because they're considered produce, and you can't redeem produce with produce. Says the Gemara, according to the Mandi Yamar that says that fruit onto dinare, also one of the Mandi Yamar say that you can't redeem it because the dinare is considered produce, and therefore you can't redeem fruit onto fruit. The pasuk says you have to redeem it with money. Why do they only argue about putting silver onto gold? Lifleg beperis al dinar. So it says, iflig beperis al dinarin. If they argue with fruit onto the dinari, havamina hani mili beperis al dinar. Aval beslan al dinar, but silver onto gold. Maybe Meidule Beis Hillel Beis Shammai, maybe Beis Hillel admits to Beis Shammai that in relationship to silver, the gold is considered a produce because it's less liquid. I may think the davel legabe kaspa peirahave, and therefore gold in relationship to silver is considered produce, and therefore maybe he would agree that you can't redeem silver onto gold because you can't put money on produce. V'loi mechalalinon kamash malon. Therefore, kamash malon that they argue in both cases. So now, Rabbi said we just pause a moment to change the channel here.